Are you ready to renew your Alabama Notary commission and, actually keep your career moving forward without a hitch? Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to totally simplify the Alabama Notary renewal process for you. Whether you're a seasoned pro who's done this a million times or you're just trying to wrap your head around some of the newest state regulations, we are going to walk through the whole shebang. By the end of this, you'll be able to renew your commission with absolute confidence and, most importantly, without letting it lapse.
So let me ask you, is your Alabama Notary commission expiring anytime soon? Let's be real, it's incredibly easy to let these renewal dates just completely sneak up on you. But staying compliant, that's absolutely crucial to keeping your career on track and, of course, protecting the public. We're going to look at exactly what happens if you happen to miss that deadline, and trust me, you definitely do not want to find out the hard way.
Let's dive right into our agenda. We'll be covering notary renewal basics, the step-by-step renewal process, avoiding common pitfalls, post-renewal responsibilities, and finally, resources and support.
Starting off with Section 1, Notary Renewal Basics.
Okay, before we even touch the paperwork, we really need to talk about the stakes here. Because, wow, the penalties are actually pretty severe. If your commission expires, your authority to execute official acts ceases right then and there, literally immediately. Alabama law gives you absolutely zero grace period, none. If you act as a notary with an expired, suspended, or restricted commission, you're actually committing a Class C misdemeanor. That can mean up to 3 months in jail and a $500 fine. And it gets even worse. If someone knowingly performs an unauthorized notarial act with the intent to help out in a fraudulent transaction, boom, that gets elevated to a Class D felony. So yeah, keeping track of your expiration date is absolutely step one.
And hey, speaking of tracking those dates, there is a massive upcoming change that you really need to have on your radar. Under current law, an Alabama Notary Commission is valid for 4 years. But starting October 1st, 2026, a new piece of legislation called HB 73 officially takes effect. And under HB 73, that commission term drops from 4 years down to just 2 years. So what's the real impact here? Well, it means notaries are going to be reviewed and background checked way more frequently, which is ultimately designed to keep professional standards incredibly high across the entire state.
Another foundational thing you've got to understand is Alabama's kind of unique, decentralized system. Unlike a lot of other states where you just send everything to the Secretary of State, in Alabama you have to apply directly to your local county probate judge. This probate judge is exclusively responsible for reviewing your application, running your background checks, officially commissioning you, and swearing you in. The Secretary of State, they just maintain the statewide database. So remember, your local county probate judge is your absolute main point of contact for this whole thing.
Moving on to Section 2, the step-by-step renewal process.
Think of this next segment as your personal instructional guidebook. We're going to hit some very clear, actionable milestones. Here is the entire renewal process mapped out in 5 concrete steps. First step, you apply to your probate judge. Second, you complete the mandatory training. Third, get that surety bond. Fourth, take your official oath and file the paperwork. And fifth, buy your shiny new seal. Because, as we said, there's absolutely no grace period for an expired commission, you really should kick off this 5-step process about 1 to 2 months before your current expiration date, just to avoid any headaches or interruptions in your work.
So, step 1 naturally begins with verifying your eligibility. You've got to be at least 18 years old, be an Alabama resident, and be fully capable of handling legal obligations. But the real kicker here, the absolutely crucial point, is the strict rule about where you apply. You must apply in your specific county of residence. You can't just apply in a neighboring county because it happens to be closer to your office or on your commute. Nope. It has to go through the probate judge in your specific home county.
And all of this builds into a pretty strict timeline. Once you actually file that application, the clock officially starts ticking. You have exactly 30 days to knock out the mandatory pre-commission training program. That's the one developed by the Alabama Probate Judges Association and the Alabama Law Institute. Then, after your application is approved and you get your appointment letter in hand, you've got a 40-day window to file your bond and take your oath. If you miss these exact numerical deadlines, your application is going to get delayed or worse, just flat out denied.
Now, speaking of that bond, here's the number you absolutely cannot forget: $50,000. Yep, all renewing Alabama notaries must secure a $50,000 surety bond from a state-licensed surety company to cover the new commission term. But listen, it's really vital to understand what this actually does. This bond does not protect you, the notary. Not at all. It is strictly required by law to protect the public from any financial loss caused by a notary's negligence or misconduct. If you're looking to protect your own assets, you need to look into a completely separate errors and omissions insurance policy.
As for the out-of-pocket costs you'll pay during this whole process, the state-mandated fees are pretty straightforward. There's a non-refundable $10 application fee plus a $25 state commission fee that's collected by the judge of probate. But keep in mind, because you're dealing directly with your local county, the county recording fees are going to vary. Generally speaking, though, you can expect the total county and state fees to land somewhere in the ballpark of $40 to $70, totally depending on exactly where you live.
All right, Section 3, Avoiding Common Pitfalls.
Even super experienced notaries can make silly mistakes on their renewal applications, and those mistakes can lead to instant rejection by the probate court. So let's quickly walk through the instant disqualifiers. If any of these apply to you, the probate judge is literally legally required to deny your application. Applying outside your home county, that's a huge one. But also, you simply cannot renew your commission if you're currently a debtor in an active bankruptcy proceeding, if you have an unpardoned felony or a conviction for a crime of moral turpitude, or if you're currently under an order adjudicating you as incapacitated. Make absolutely sure none of these apply to you before you go spending your hard-earned money on application fees.
Check out this direct quote from the statute. It says, "A period of restriction, suspension, or revocation does not extend the expiration date of a commission." This really highlights the immense power these probate judges hold over your notary status. If you violate notary law, your commissioning judge can easily issue a warning or restrict, suspend, or completely revoke your commission. And as that quote makes crystal clear, being suspended doesn't just hit pause on your expiration clock. That 4-year term, or the new 2-year term starting in 2026, just keeps burning down regardless. So, accuracy and integrity, they are totally non-negotiable.
Next up, Section 4, Post-Renewal Responsibilities.
Okay, so your renewal is approved. Huge congratulations. But hold on, the job is not quite done yet. Once you're officially commissioned, you've got to go out and acquire a brand new, fully compliant notary seal. Alabama has enacted some incredibly strict security stamp requirements recently to make it much harder for scammers to fake a seal. Your new stamp has to visually display your full legal name, your official commission number, your exact expiration date, and the specific title, Notary Public, State of Alabama. And here's a massive, critical warning for you. Manual entry of your name or your expiration date on a stamp is strictly prohibited. You absolutely cannot just write your expiration date in with a pen. Using an unapproved or a manually altered stamp can lead to immediate suspension and some hefty civil penalties.
Another tricky post-renewal reality you might run into is a name change, maybe due to marriage. Alabama law is actually incredibly rigid about this. You can totally continue to use your currently commissioned name and seal until your current term naturally expires. But if you really want to change it mid-term, you essentially have to formally resign and reapply completely from scratch. Yep, that means buying a brand new $50,000 bond and paying all those application fees all over again. So, here's a highly practical tip from the pros. It is almost always way easier and definitely cheaper to just wait to change your official notary name until it's time for your standard scheduled renewal.
Finally, Section 5, Additional Resources and Support.
Navigating these state laws can get a little complicated, so you should always rely on the authoritative sources. First and foremost, if you're ever in doubt, just reach out to your local probate judge's office. Because they're the ones actually handling the commissioning, they hold all the specific rules and the exact forms for your specific county. You can always use the Alabama Secretary of State's website to quickly look up the contact info for your county's judge. And lastly, the Alabama Probate Judges Association, or the APJA website, is incredibly useful. In fact, that is exactly where you'll need to go to access the mandatory and totally free online training portal that's required for your renewal anyway.
Well, there you have it. We've walked through the basics, the timelines, the fees, and the biggest pitfalls to avoid. Getting this done on time isn't just about keeping your side gig or your job, it's truly about ensuring the public can trust the critical documents they're signing. So start the process early, get those documents gathered up, breeze through that free training, and remember to always verify the specific rules with your local municipality or legal advisor, because as we've seen, regulations can and do evolve. As a notary, you are literally the first line of defense against fraud in your community, so the question is, how will you uphold that standard in your next term? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and best of absolute luck with your notary renewal.